Good morning, buenos dias, and bonjour. A very warm welcome to Transport Evolution's digital session. We have 25 countries joining us today, or representatives at least. This morning we'll be having coffee with Tanger and their partners Polydesign Systems and TI Automotive. Of course, we are extremely grateful for the support of Moore Global, and the Regional Director for Africa and the Middle East, Jeff Blackbeard, will moderate today's imperative discussion. This is certainly an exciting experience for us as we connect with our industry colleagues in Morocco. Today's session is recorded and will be made available in the coming weeks, as well as the presentation. I'd very quickly like to thank all of you for your continued support on these digital sessions, and we trust that you have been finding them informative. We are, of course, wanting to hear from you and welcome any suggestions on future digital interviews such as this. So please connect with me after the session. I'll place my details in the chat box, and I'll leave it to Jeff. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Kelly, and to the DMG team. I hope everybody's got their coffee, and I know, Ahmed, you've got your mint tea ready. Looking forward to a very interesting interactive session this morning. What we're going to be doing in terms of following a little bit of the protocol is, first of all, welcoming and thanking all the delegates for participating. It's really great to have such a fantastic representation across a number of countries. I think Kelly mentioned 25. And that's really a great testament to Ahmed Benes and Tanger Med's upcoming presentation. What we'll do is we'll start out our session with a short video program that will highlight some of the key aspects of Tanger Med, and then we'll lead into the discussion presentation by Ahmed, and then a few questions. What would be really great is if all the delegates participating could drop questions into the Q&A channel or into the chat. And between myself and Kelly, we'll pick up on some of those items to lead into a panel discussion with Julian Foyman and Oscar Besido, who will join us later in the program. Really interesting around the geographic location of Tanger Med, and I had the opportunity in 2018 and again in 2019 to visit Tanger and to pass through the port and look at the fantastic facilities that are available there. And it was really a pleasure for me to host the session as a moderator and really give an opportunity to see again through another set of eyes what I witnessed at those two visits. It really is a challenging time that we've come through in COVID-19 through 2020. And I know, Ahmed, you'll be touching on some of these elements of how well prepared Tanger was for this session, for the impact of the pandemic. But more importantly, I think it's really important to look forward. And I know you're a results-driven man with a mission to position Tanger Med as one of the top ports of the world. And in fact, being a top port in Africa, it's really a privilege to have you with us. Just a short introduction of Ahmed. Ahmed is the Group Business Development Director for Tanger Med, and has been engaged since 2011 in various aspects of projects, infrastructure projects around the port. But prior to that, had quite an interesting career, starting in IT, I think, Ahmed, originally with NEC, then moving into more consulting, a little bit similar to me, I guess, providing advisory services. And now with your role in business development, I think you're bringing some of all those skills together, I guess. And more recently have been very active in some of the strategic business partnerships, which we'll touch on towards the end of our session. It'll be very interesting to see your roles there. An ardent football supporter, Barcelona, I think. So we have a chance to chat a bit about soccer and football later on in the session. Before we hand over to Ahmed, Kelly, if you can help me just put up the short video. And we'll lead into that. And then, Ahmed, as soon as that's over, I think we can start your presentation. So when you're ready, we're ready, Kelly.
Tanger Med began operations back in July 2007. It's a global logistics hub located on the Strait of Gibraltar, the second busiest route of logistic flows on global scale. Ideally located only 14 kilometers away from Europe and at the crossroads of the main maritime lines, Tanger Med is strategically located at the heart of global trade. Tanger Med Port is an exceptional infrastructure project that includes a world-class port complex, an attractive logistics-free zone, an industrial competitiveness platform, and connecting infrastructures. With its worldwide connectivity to more than 180 ports and 70 countries in 5 continents, Tanger Med allowed Morocco to rank among the first 20 maritime nations in the world. With its unique capacities, more than 9 million containers, 7 million passengers, 700,000 trucks, and 1 million vehicles per year, Tanger Med is the first port on the Mediterranean and in Africa. The logistics-free zone, directly integrated within the port, provides a full range of high-added value logistics services, enabling the distribution and the supply to and from 100 countries. Connected to an industrial platform of regional competitiveness, Tanger Med develops around the industrial sectors of textiles, automotive, aeronautics, services, and logistics. In 2019, a total of 1,000 companies have achieved an export turnover of $8.8 billion. Renault Nissan has opened in 2012, the largest industrial unit in Africa. The port hub is a major asset for the development strategy of the alliance and to support the PSA export ambitions. The development of this hub has acquired the mobilization of investments of $10.1 billion made within the framework of public-private partnerships, spearheaded by a dedicated agency, TMSA. Tanger Med continues to attract a large number of international leaders, strengthening its position of port hub with the presence of the major worldwide maritime alliances. The logistics hub, thanks to the players of prominent companies such as Decathlon, Adidas, DHL, and Nippon Express, and an industrial hub with large multinationals from Japan, China, the United States, and Europe who have made the choice to establish themselves in Tanger Med. The positive social and economic impacts are significant, with the creation of more than 80,000 jobs and adapted training programs to companies' expectations. Tanger Med is truly the optimal platform choice that meets investors' expectations for logistics and industry. It strengthens its position as a competitive platform at the heart of global trade.
Fantastic, Ahmed. Over to you. We're looking forward to your presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jeff, and thank you to the organization team. We are really delighted to be among this audience and among these organizations running these outstanding webinar sessions. So for us, it's a good opportunity to share with you some insights regarding the development of the Tanger Med port, and also how this infrastructure can contribute to the development not only at the country level, but at the continental level. So I'm very happy to be with you today, and if you don't mind, I want to share some slides just to highlight what has been said so far on the video, and to share more details about the different projects that we are running today. All right. So the project itself started with a vision, and this vision was let's say, driven by the guidelines of His Majesty, who decided to set up tremendous infrastructure, logistic infrastructure, port infrastructures, and all surrounded by an economic zones development to boost the economic development of the country and to be considered as a major hub, major logistic hub for the continent. So from there started the vision, and a very pragmatic roadmap has been designed with let's say milestone that has been identified for the development of such tremendous project for the continent. So the objective was simply to get the benefit out of this unique geographical locations, being very close to Europe. We are at 14-kilometer distance far from southern Europe, but being also at the Strait of Gibraltar, which is the crossing point of more than 20% of global trade, and this represents more than 100,000 vessels that cross the strait on a yearly basis. 60 million containers that are, let's say, crossing the strait. So for us, it was so important to get the benefit out of this global trade, and also being one of the major operator in the Mediterranean Sea. So the idea was to develop a fully integrated project, as I said, a very pragmatic roadmap with milestones, with objectives, set of objectives that has been decided since the inception of the project. So it's not only a port development with containers capacity, rural capacity, and multi-purpose capacity, but it was also let's say the development of an economic zones ecosystem fully integrated with the port and the logistic operations. And also, let's say the key success was to connect both projects with, let's say, the existing infrastructure in the country, looking at the hinterland, developing a railway network, developing the highway networks, and also developing all the utilities that is needed to support such development. So total investment is around 10 billion US dollars. It's a PPP project, so we have a strong involvement from of private investors. This represents 6.2 billion US dollars, and close to 4 billion have been invested by the Moroccan state. So the total capacity that we are aiming to attend, and I think we are on the right path, is to on the container level, is to attend the 9 million container capacity, which is a very good number. Handling 7 million passengers, 1 million of vehicles, 700,000 trucks, and on the economic zones, there are more than 1,000 companies that are already located in our zone. 80,000 jobs that has been created, and a yearly export turnover close to 8.8 billion. So several activities that we run in our projects. So ports development, logistic activity, agribusiness, and of course we are hosting companies, multinational companies that are involved in the aeronautics, electronics, predominancy of automotive players, and we will have some testimonial today, and also textile and paramedical among others. The key success of the strategy is definitely the governance model that has been put in place in order to support the development of such project, the implementations of the right framework, legal framework, and also let's say the fiscal framework to support such development. So a special agency has been created, and it was endowed with public authority and prerogatives to support this development, to expedite the processes, the administrative processes, and also to address the needs of the investors. So it's definitely the concept of one-stop shop that we wanted to promote through this governance model. And this governance model allowed us as well to, of course, involve private investors in our, let's say, in our affiliates company. So we have 3 different, I would say, business units. So the first one is in charge of the port complex. We are also a port authorities. We also drive public and private initiatives, and I will maybe discuss in more details how we run and how we drive the PPP project. The second business unit is in charge of the industrial development. So it's an affiliate company called Tanger Med Zones. It's a PPP project. So the state of Morocco or through TMSA hold the majority of the shares, but we have Moroccan banks, investment funds that are also shareholders in this company. And we have the third business unit, which is service companies that are supporting such developments. So we have a first company called Serious Technology, which is, let's say, a technology company busy with in charge of, let's say, the setup of all telecom utilities, optical fibers, security. I mean, sensitive site security. We have Tanger Med Engineering. I will maybe elaborate more about the role of Tanger Med Engineering being, let's say, the engineering and consultancy company that was in charge of the development of this project. And we have Tanger Med Utilities, which is the company that take care of all the facility management and also electricity supply, water supply within our ecosystem. So the objective was to set up different milestones through this pragmatic approach. The construction project started in 2003, and the first vessel left the port in 2007. So in 4 years' time, we were able to build such tremendous project, and I think it was the first success. It's of course to handle such big construction projects in a very short notice. In 2009, we opened the large industrial platform, the large economic zones. We've opened the passenger terminal in 2010. In 2012, Renault Nissan started its operations in our activity zones. We've opened the Tanger Med Port Center in 2014. We've signed, let's say, the concession of the Tanger Med 2, which is the extension of Tanger Med, with additional capacity, 6 million containers additional capacity to the Tanger Med 1 that was initially operated. And last year we've opened the Tanger Med 2, and that's allow us to attend a total capacity of 4.8 million containers last year, with the objective to attend the 9 million container capacity in the next few years. So it's a fully integrated port complex with let's say a container terminal, with passenger terminal, with a ro-ro terminal, with the vehicle terminal, additional container capacity, and all these terminals are surrounded by a logistic economic zones, a logistic platform that supports worldwide logistic and also supporting, let's say, all the hinterland logistic activities. The performance of the ports, and we are very proud to announce that we are today the first platform for the import and export in Morocco. We are the first transshipment port in the Mediterranean Sea, the first, let's say, port capacity in Africa for the third consecutive years. And this year, we were able to jump to the rank 35 among the 500 container ports in the world, which is an excellent ranking for an African port. And our wish and our will, inshallah, like we say, is to be among the top 20 worldwide in the near future. So total capacity of the container terminal is the 9 million TEUs. We have 2 concessionaires, so we have APM terminal and Orogate, MSC, and others. So the major players have already strong presence in Tanger Med. Last year, the figure is 4.8 million containers that we've handled in 2019, and we are expecting a little growth this year. In terms of vehicle vehicle flows or vehicle transit, so the total capacity in 1 million, we have already attended more than 50% of the capacity, and this is still a matter of significant developments. Today we have two car manufacturer, Renault and PSA, and we hope that we will have another OEM joining the development of the automotive sector in our countries. We do also have a hydrocarbon terminal with a total capacity of 100,000 meter cube. We have attended 6 million tons last year. The port itself is connected by a railway to the Moroccan hinterland, container handling containers, but also handling the vehicles. So we have a direct connections from the port to the Renault facility and also to the PSA facility. So it's a multimodal logistic platform that of course carry on railway handling. The passengers' activities is quite important for us because we have let's say significant flow of passengers crossing the strait. This represents roughly 2.7 million passengers crossing the strait on a yearly basis. Let's say the vessel takes between 35 to 45 minutes to cross the straits. So leaving Africa connected to connecting Europe, and we have about 49 to 50 let's say vessel crossing the strait on a daily basis. In terms of rural activities, so this is also a very important activity within the port, because this is a dedicated support to the companies that are located in our zone, and also the company that are exporting to Western Europe. So we can tap into markets in a direct vicinity. Let's say Spain in less than 24 hours, France in less than 36 hours, and northern Germany, we can attend it in less than 72 hours. So this is really an important activity, and there is a dedicated support to the Moroccan exporters addressing the needs of the Southern European or the Western European market. So in addition to let's say to all this infrastructure development, so Tanger Med today is connected to more than 180 ports around the world. More than 40 ports on the Western African side are connected with Tanger Med in less than 10 days. We're also connected to Latin America. We are connected to Northern America in less than 10 days. And thanks to these direct connections, we are able to call Southern Asia in less than 20 days sometimes. So, and this is really important for an investor, for a company that will look at Morocco as a production base or export base. This connectivity that Tanger Med offer today is one of, let's say, the basics for the decision making when it comes to an investment. So, as I said, the major maritime liners and ports operators have already a strong presence in Tanger Med. So they trust us, they are confident with their business, and they keep growing their business, which is a good news also for us, because since they can develop themselves, since they can develop their activity, this is also with a lot of benefit to us. So in addition to the development of the port complex, and as I mentioned, we have a comprehensive industrial settlements and economic zones development. So we have 6 activity zones, 6 economic zones. And we are, let's say, the largest in Africa. So it represents today 2,000 hectares in terms of footprint. This is what is already developed, and we have a land reserve up to 5,000 hectares that could be used for further development. A total export turnover as of today up to 8.8 billion US dollars. I've mentioned it already. So 1,000 companies, 80,000 1,000 jobs that has been created, and I take this opportunity to make a very good announcement because yesterday we've announced that the Tanger Med Zones has been ranked #2 global ranking. This is a global ranking made by the FDI Intelligence, affiliate of the Financial Times. So this is the first time for an African economic zones to be among this high ranking, and we are very proud of this tremendous effort that has been made in order to support the implementations and the settlement of foreign direct investment. So major players are already involved in such developments. So predominancy of automotive. This represents 60 to 70% of the companies that are located in our zones. So in the major tier 1 and tier 2, tier 3 players, almost 100 automotive players are already among our ecosystem. And of course, we host the largest car plants, the Nissan plant with 400,000 cars capacity. So we host also some, let's say, technology sensitive businesses such as, let's say, the Siemens Gamesa project, which is they are producing wind blades for let's say to be exported to Northern Europe, and of course we have other players in the aerospace business and others. So this is briefly what I can share with you regarding the development of our ecosystem, and I'm quite excited to get your comments.
Ahmed, that's fantastic. I mean, a really tremendous presentation. Thank you very much. But also, I mean, look at the honors that you've achieved over a fairly short period. If you take 2003 being the date that you formally started to date, it's fantastic. So, a strong round of applause from us all on those achievements. While you were talking through some of the key success factors, I know you covered issues like governance and particularly the infrastructure that you have been able to put in place, and obviously the location, which kind of speaks for itself in terms of the straits and access to the Mediterranean and being a hub for so many other logistical connections. Are there any other sort of critical, let's call them critical success factors that have contributed to the overall success of the activities so far, Ahmed?
I think that, let's say, the success factors, as we mentioned, are the governance model.
Yep.
So this is one of, let's say, the major factors that allow us to drive PPP project on the right way, and also being assigned missions such as the development and the management, coordination, supervision of such important projects has to come with a dedicated framework and with a certain prerogative that has to be, let's say, transferred to the organization in charge of this development. So, of course, the governance model is one of the key success factors. The geographical locations helps a lot, but it was not only the fact that we are close to Europe and the fact that we are at the crossroad of the maritime line, but the objective was to be able to tap into this global trade that represents almost 20% of the global trade crossing the strait. So the way to develop your value propositions is also key in order to get the benefits of this geographical locations. When we talk about the infrastructure, so it's not only the inside infrastructure, but all the infrastructure that will connect the port and the economic zones to the urban area, to let's say the pool of workforce, connecting the port to the hinterland, connecting Tanger to the rest of Morocco, and maybe maybe further. Let's say the utilities that you have to offer in order to fit to the demand and to the needs of the investors. I think this is very important. So not talking about let's say the standalone infrastructure that you want to develop, but also connecting this project to the other infrastructures surrounding the ecosystem of Tanger Med. So based on that, we were able to develop a strong value propositions that it includes today a very comprehensive real estate offering, the global connectivity also by providing regular services to more than 180 ports today, give access to more than 1 billion consumers. The multimodality in terms of logistic handling containers, trucks, railway, bulk activities, and also the value-added logistic activity that we run through consolidation, distribution, supply chain, and definitely this one-stop shop concept that we have developed in deep in order to offer this proximity with the investors. But on the top of all this fundamentals, what was key for the development of our project is the human resources, and I think that we've invested a lot. We've invested a lot in capacity building, in training, in expertise sharing, to fit to the needs of the investors, with the objectives to develop our own expertise, a Moroccan expertise, an African expertise, and Tanger Med is a Moroccan and African success story today that is designed to Moroccan and to African to Africans, driven by its own talent. And I think the best demonstration is the Tanger Med Engineering, which is an affiliate company that is specialized in engineering, strategic consultancy, planning, design, supervision of construction projects, management, also asset management of the port. And this affiliate company today comprehends more than 100 engineers and technicians that were trained here in Morocco, trained also in Europe, and they are supplying their services today to serve the needs of our project, and also they are now being exported to support other projects in Africa and also in Europe. So we rely on our resources, and we are confident that let's say Moroccans and Africans are able to develop such important and tremendous project by themselves.
Ahmed, that's fantastic, and thank you for leading us into that conversation around the skills and HR aspects, because I think Oscar later on will pick up on that conversation with you, because I think that'll be something of great interest to his in his panel presentation. Just talk a little bit about these connections. I mean, you've mentioned the connections to Africa, and I'm thinking particularly about the Africa Economic Zone group that you're particularly involved with. How important is that to Tanger Med, to you, because you play a very active role in those let's call them connections. So maybe you can just give us a little bit of insight.
Well, indeed. So the port is connected, technically to more than 180 ports, and also the Tanger Med zones is also connected through trade with its ecosystem, and also let's say supporting the development of the companies that are located in our zone. But we've understood, very quickly since the inception of the project, that we have to work as a team. And also we understood that we have to be involved in more activity towards the African continent. And in 2015, we have decided together with other African countries to set up the Africa Economic Zones organizations that comprehends today more than 80 members representing 45 African countries. And our objective is, of course, connecting the economic zones in the continent, supporting their development, advocating with international organizations such as the African Union, the United Nations, the World Trade Organizations, among others, and also connecting this community to, let's say, a network of experts, of investors. So we are doing a lot of promotions around the Africa Economic Zones. That let's say that we are quite active through many set of services that we offer to our community. But this is a very good demonstrations of the way to work together, addressing the challenges of the African economic zones in general.
Fantastic, Ahmed. I know we're going to come back to some of these points, particularly around the concept of the one-stop shop, because I think there's been some questions on the chat related to that. So we'll come back to you. You can have another sip of mint tea. But in terms of moving us forward, I think also there's been a couple of comments on the chat as well, about wanting to have closer engagement with you, maybe even to sign some MOUs, Ahmed. So you've pricked many people's interest in the success that you have, and congratulations once again on all the achievements, and the most recent one you announced this morning. So thank you very much. I'd like to maybe bring Julianne Furman onto the call now, because I think it'll be very interesting to get a little bit of perspective from one of the, as you said, one of the automotive key players. So welcome, Julian. It's been good. It was good to meet you a couple of years ago in Tanger, and obviously to have a chance again to see you virtually. Fantastic. I know you've been listening really hard to what Ahmed's been talking about, and you've been experiencing it now. So maybe take us a little bit through the journey. I think you've been located as a company in Tanger from 2001. Is that correct? I mean, can you just give us a little bit of that and maybe lead into what's happening today?
Oh, sure. Good morning, Jeff. Thanks. Well, yes, we started here in 2001. So we were one of the very first companies here in Tanger Free Zone. If you can imagine, Ahmed mentioned 80,000 people now working in our zones. We were probably about 1,000. So,
wow.
So we'll be celebrating our 20-year anniversary next year. And I think looking back, in fact, the most recent award, the number 2 in the world for our Tanger Med Zone, I had my thunder stolen by Ahmed because I was going to announce that myself. Because I'm particularly proud of it, because Polydesign was one of the founding members of the Investors Association. So in fact, I was its first president. So for the first 2 terms. And and this one-stop shop and public-private partnership that I heard Ahmed speaking about, in fact, that is how we made the zone work. Us private companies worked with Tanger Free Zone, and then also with the government, because Tanger Free Zone was a pilot in Morocco. So it was a pioneer zone. So there were things that needed to be changed. There were laws that needed to be changed. There were rules, regulations, whether customs, whether financial, that all needed to be slightly tweaked in order for it to really work well for companies like ours that import, export, and produce parts. So 2001, we had 50 people. We now have 2,000. And we've done 2 additional factory extensions. So we now have triple the size that we were in 2001. And we were going to start building a second factory basically at the end of this year. We've delayed it a little bit because of COVID-19, but we're still planning on doing that mid next year. So in fact, for us, Morocco has been a success. We came here when automotive was almost non-existent in Morocco, but we believed that it was the right place to be. And I think that's been borne out, because if I look around me, we now have about 60,000 people working in automotive just in these Tanger Free Zones alone. So, it has been a journey. And when we first came, in fact, I was sort of reminiscing as Ahmed was giving his presentation. We had a small little port in the middle of town that we had to use for our imports and exports. And in fact, it was a concern by many of our customers because they would actually come and want to visit the port to make sure that it could actually do just-in-time imports and exports. And they really did have concerns. So now that port is basically kind of a cruise terminal and a beautiful marina. And we use this professional, big Tanger Med port, obviously, for most of our shipments, which are mostly by truck. And that was one of the things that Ahmed also mentioned for automotive. In fact, for our equipment, et cetera, we're basically almost 100% truck.
Julian, I mean, prior to relocating to Tanger, you were in Guinea-Conakry. I mean, you had some flavors of Africa in your experience. I mean, what's it like working in a very sophisticated, digitized, automated port environment? I mean, maybe some reflections on that.
Well, I guess to put it in perspective, in fact, so I was working at the U.S. Embassy. I was a diplomat at the U.S. Embassy in Conakry, Guinea, but it was in 91, 92. So you're going to have an idea of my age by me giving that year. But
we'll all have a sip of coffee.
Yeah, exactly. So it was quite a long time ago. It was before cell phones were, standard fare, et cetera. So it was a very different world. But in fact, it was that experience in Guinea, because I got to know some of the Moroccans at the Moroccan embassy, in fact, that kind of tweaked my interest regarding Morocco. And that is one of the reasons that I came to Morocco. I thought it was fascinating. And I'll never forget arriving at the airport in Casablanca, expecting one thing and finding quite another. I remember we were driving out big, beautiful toll roads, modern infrastructure, and thinking, oh, this isn't at all what I was expecting. and in fact, and that's only increased. Like when we first came to Tanger, there was kind of a blacktop, a small blacktop road for the entrance into Tanger. Now it's a divided boulevard with again another big toll road. So I think coming from that, and of course now, and with COVID-19, we've all kind of converted ourselves very, very quickly to digital. One of the things that we were implementing, most of us in automotive, at one stage or another, is what we called kind of Industry 4.0, or the digital factory. And so that was something that we were all working on. We had our action plans that had our timing plans, and in fact they were compressed into about 2 months, I think. And so we've all kind of converted very quickly, which is actually a wonderful thing. And and so our declarations, whether it's our declarations for import, export, and all that stuff, is all online, whereas it used to be a paper system with lots of colored stamps. So in fact, we really have come quite a long way. I've been in Morocco 25 years, so. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Julian, I know you wanted to put up a little slide just to show how connected you are, and I think that would be quite useful. And we'll end on that. But it's a great overview that you've given us. Maybe you just want to give us a little talk through on this.
Yeah. So one of the things with Polyzyme, while we're not one of the largest multinationals in the world, we're kind of a medium-sized one. We're basically an American-Canadian company, but even with that, in fact, our factory here in Morocco is one of the few that works for as many OEMs and as many tiers as you see here. So we deliver to about 114 different factories all over the world. You see those little dots, whether it's Asia, the US, Mexico, South America, South Africa, obviously mostly Europe because of our location where we are. But in fact, we're actually delivering to almost all of the OEMs. So almost all the OEMs are supplied by our factory in Tanger. And then we deliver to another, let's say 25 to 30 big tier ones. So we're doing the interior trim and seating parts. So and we have basically kind of, we often call it 5 factories inside one. So we've divided into business units for our different product categories. But in fact, we really are supplying the world from Tanger. When we came here initially, we were kind of focusing on Southern Europe, thinking that was going to be our area of competitiveness. But in fact, now the majority of our shipments are actually going to Northern Germany and Eastern Europe. So we are competitive going, pretty far east into Europe. And like I said, that's where the majority is. And that's by truck. And as I said, let's say 3 to 4 days something like that to get there.
Fantastic testament again to what Tanger Med has been able to provide you, and obviously the broader Morocco in the economy that you located. Thanks, Julian. Stay on with us, and I'm going to introduce Oscar Bercedo. Oscar will be joining us as he comes on. Any comments, Ahmed, on what Julian has given us as a bit of an overview of her experiences in Morocco?
Hello.
And yeah, nothing to say more than what she highlighted. I mean, she was among the Tanger Med family before I joined. So,
Fantastic.
She has a bit of history. And yeah, thank you so much, Julian, for this wonderful statement.
Yeah,
You're welcome.
lovely.
It's another way of saying that I'm one of the older ones.
Thanks, Julian. Oscar, good to see you. And I know you flew in last night from Barcelona, so welcome. And I guess when we were chatting the other day, you've had a lot of experience also coming out of the technology background originally and working your way into, being the managing director, TI, and obviously having quite a broad geography of operations in Southern Europe and Africa. It'd be very interesting to hear, some of your thoughts on it, because I think you coming at it also around the HR and some of the elements that I think were particularly unique when we were talking earlier last week.
Yeah, hello, good morning. Yeah, the first topic that you feel when you arrive to Tanger and you want to establish here is that you are never alone, and this is something that Morocco is taking care very much. I arrived here in February 2016, and I was the only one in my company. My company is a traditional American company for automotive sector based in Michigan, and then I was the only one that I was looking for an expansion of our European footprint into Morocco, into Tanger. I traveled here 1 week, and in all this week, I never feel alone. Always I had the support of the Tanger Med organization and some private companies in Tanger, and also a lot of support from other automotive suppliers already installed in Tanger. Then, if you want to do business here, first of all, you need to love the country. You need to understand the country and to love the country. And then when you love the country and you love the people in the country, then the relations are easy. You need to respect the country, you need to respect the culture, you need to recognize the big effort that the current king of Morocco did to grow this north part of the country that in the previous king was not like this. Then now with Mohammed VI, you really feel that he's protecting and he's pushing this area to grow. Then, saying this, if you understand the country, if you understand the people and you work with them, the first topic that you need to understand is here you need to work with the local people. It's not a wild area that you arrive with your army from Europe and you deploy whatever you want. Here, you have local people that you can work in all the levels. In all the levels, you have very skilled people, very, very, very well-educated people that most of them, they combine education in Morocco and in Europe, mainly France and Spain. And then also you have a lot of young people that they want to go ahead with the country and they want to progress with the country. And this is the perfect combination. I am Spanish. I am from Barcelona. I am very proud of my country and my city. And I am also a little bit old. Then that I feel in Tanger today is that I felt in Barcelona in the 90s of the last century. Then a new generation of people that they want to grow with the country and they want to make this country successful. Then I can explain a lot of stories because I founded the company here. I did all the paperwork. I agreed with Julian that they changed very quickly for a paper system to electronic system. Just 5 years ago, everything was paper, everything. Today, almost everything is electronic. Okay, the growth is going very fast. Then, okay, sometimes you need to understand also that when you grow very fast, you can have some disadjustments but they recover and they cover very quickly these adjustments. Then, in general, everything here is a success. Of course, you need to work with the local people. You need to be here all the time, and you need to understand the country. This is the main message. Then our company started very small. I convinced our headquarters to invest here, and then before the end of 2016, we opened a small factory in one of the free zones here, and we were only 25 people, okay, working there. Today, 5 years later, almost 5 years later, we completed the extension in this free zone. We built another factory in the other free zone, and today, even with COVID restrictions, we are multiplying by 2 the size of this second factory, and I am looking already for a third building also in the free zone. It means that today we are 600 people working for TI Automotive, 99.9 Moroccan. Only we have still one person from out of Morocco, but 99.9 people Moroccan. And then we don't stop. Every week we are adding 20 people in our factories, and we are not going faster because the people you need to train and you need to coach and you need to bring them to the right skills. But everything is a successful story. TI Automotive in Europe, most of the growth for the next 5 years is located here in Tanger in Morocco.
Fantastic, Oscar. I think you've covered those aspects around the local people's involvement and the HR skills and development really well. Just leading into, I guess, a point, Julian, that you mentioned. You mentioned some of the policy changes, and it sounded like there were particular policies that may have changed that kind of really did reshape. And I know there was a lot of automation and digitization of some of the activities, but what policy changes were made that kind of significantly moved the country forward and also, your operations in Tanger?
Well, there were some that were very practical, kind of related. Like, for example, in the beginning, trucks, because we were all small. Remember, we were all small. We weren't shipping like full trucks and that type of thing at the time. And so most of the trucking and the exports from Morocco that could hold our type of parts were from the textile industry. And so at the time for the free zone, there was no possibility for a truck to enter the zone with merchandise loaded outside the zone for us to finish loading the truck so that, for example, a full truck would go to Europe. And so we had to change some of the rules with customs so that partial trucks could come in, for example, so we could load them. So if you can imagine, at one point we were all kind of stuck. So what do? Do we take our pallets to kind of the door of the free zone and kind of surreptitiously load them on a truck? So in fact, there were things like that just weren't foreseen when they initially put in place the framework, the legal framework. So, that was one. There were some others regarding foreign exchange. So at the time also, we didn't have the authorization to come into the zone with Moroccan dirhams, yet we all live in Morocco. And originally that was prohibited. So there were all these types of little adjustments, but there were also some more serious ones, like, for example, with customs, the regional director of customs at the time was really a team player. And so, at times, like, Polydesign was doing development and design work with PSA for a part, and so we needed actually one of their cars here. So there was no way to import a car without having to register it for, like, actually rolling on the roads. And so we found a creative way with him to import it kind of as a machine, because it was going to stay in the free zone, and we were just going to use it to kind of do some modeling and do some prototypes. So he had to sort of find a way keep it legal, obviously, but to enable us to continue our business, because it was a first for Morocco. I think it was actually the first development work that was done. This was in 2002, and it was with PSA. So there were all these little kind of, like I said, it was tweaking. There weren't major things, but just little things like that. And one thing that Oscar said that I think is also so important, so I join you with this, is from day one, we had 100% Moroccan. And I even consider myself Moroccan because I was already here. So I was a local hire. I wasn't an expat. And so from day one, we were 100% local. And there was no automotive at the time. So we took people from semiconductor electronics industry, from textile industry, from kind of all over, and train them in automotive. And I do think that that's one of the keys of our success. We didn't come in with an army of expats, but we came in from day one with 100% Morocco. So everything is like the good housekeeping seal of approval, as we say in the States, 100%.
Fantastic, Julian. I mean, looking to the future now, I mean, you've heard from both Oscar and Julian some really high praise for what's been achieved to date. And I know you're a results-driven guy. So, what can we look forward to in the future? What are the plans, and how is this going to move forward for you?
Well, first of all, I wanted to make a little comment on what Julian just mentioned. So,
right.
What was important when we designed the strategy for the development of the economic zones in Morocco is not to import an existing, let's say, or an existing solutions, but to, let's say, to go ahead with our own concept. So we've made many benchmark, and the decision was not to implement an existing, let's say, prototype that comes from Asia or come from Europe or come from elsewhere. So we had to develop our own resources, to design our legal framework, and of course the authorities had the missions to support this development. So we've had our trial period, the first 2 to 3 years, but I think, and this is what Julian mentions, afterward it becomes just a matter of improving, let's say, the existing processes and making some adjustments. With regards to, let's say, the further development, so it's a continuous effort. It's an endless work from us to improve our performance and also to deliver the best conditions for the settlement of of the investors within our ecosystem. Let's say Julian and also Oscar mentions the effort that we've made in terms of digitizations, and we were quite successful. So definitely we will keep on working on, let's say, this paperless approach in order to make sure that we are supporting trade facilitations, we are optimizing the different processes in terms of clearance, custom administrations, and this goes with the fact that we are looking at the competitiveness of the operators. Today we have a very comprehensive port community system, or port economic zones community system, addressing the needs of almost 80% of the requirements. But we will keep on working on enhancing the performance in terms of digitizations and let's say supporting the development of our investors. In terms of infrastructures, of course, we will develop more zones. We will develop more, let's say, infrastructure projects in order to host more investors, in order to develop new activity sectors and support the economic development of the continent. But besides, let's say, this local development, we are also looking at international development. So we are looking at investment opportunities in the continent, and we have already started some very good initiatives in Africa, considering developments of ports activities, dry ports activities, economic zones development. So I would be glad to maybe to announce some achievements by next year's. And we are also involved with the African ports community through the African Port Task Force, similar to what we have done with the economic zones. So it's a knowledge collaborative platform that allow African Ports Authority to get together let's say to connect to each other and also get the maximum of let's say connections with investors and experts and experts. On the other side, and maybe I wanted to mention this is also very important. Tanger Med is also highly involved in global alliances, and we were involved together with the Port of Singapore in the Singapore initiatives, aligned with other global ports, Busan, Rotterdam, and among others. And the idea was to work together, being connected to each others, and also serving the needs of the international logistic chain. We are also partnering with our neighboring ports. So, I mean, Al Jazeera's, enhancing also the performance of the logistic between Africa and Europe, being, let's say, the entry points of both continents. So this is, I would say, the main missions that drives our initiatives. But we feel that today we are entitled, together with the African ports community, to develop new processes for the supply chain, connecting the African port to each other, and supporting the vision of creating one African market under the African Continental Free Trade Agreement that is coming into application now, and that stands for making a significant contributions to reducing the trade and logistic costs and facilitating the cross-border trade and regional integration.
Mm-hmm. Oscar, thanks, Ahmed. Oscar, coming back to you, when you were talking about almost 100% engagement by local Moroccans in your business, what is there about the mindset? I mean, you've mentioned the young people coming through, reminds you of the days in Barcelona. Is there a mindset of globalization, of being part of something bigger? Is that inherent in the young people that you are engaging with?
Yeah. At the end, the people here, okay, they feel that they are creating something. They feel that they belongs to the European group or community. They feel that it's like an extension of Europe in the north of Africa. Then when I was in brackets selling this to my organization, I was saying all the time that we belong to an ecosystem that is the south of Europe, is Spain, Portugal, and Morocco together creating this ecosystem. And then you take advantage of this situation. You take the advantage that then now you have an additional country that you can extend your operations. And then this is how feel the people here. The people feel that they belongs to this project to participate into, I don't know, Europe or Mediterranean area, but they feel like members of this project. And this is why it's working so well. No? Always to teach, because here we are very familiar with Morocco, but if you go deeper in Europe, south of Europe, included France, Spain, Portugal, they understand very well Morocco, but it's still difficult to explain to Germany and other East European countries what is Morocco. No? Mm. I always say, and sometimes they are not happy, that in Morocco, all these skilled people that we are having, they talk 4 languages. Yeah? They talk Arabian, they talk French, they talk Spanish, most of them, and English. No? Then look in Europe, for some people that they can talk easily 4 languages, and then they will understand the effort that these people they are doing, because nobody in Europe speak 4 languages in a fluent way like here you have in most of these educated people. No, then this is a message that, and also for the Moroccan people and for Venice, also they need to strengthen this message into the Central Europe. They need to sell to the Central Europe more what we know already, the French and the Spanish people. And then like this, they have further opportunities, because for us, it's very simple when we are doing business here to place in Spain or in France, but it's a little bit more difficult to convince when we try to do business here to be placed in Germany, Czech Republic, Poland. This is becoming a little bit more difficult. Then this is a trend that I think the people here they need to follow in the coming years, to convince the Central Europe about what we see in Tanger or in Morocco.
And certainly, Oscar, that is kind of a role model opportunity for your team to expand that experience out and create a new way of working and collaborating. That's fantastic. Julian, when we were talking with Kuds Benassi in 2018, a lady partner of our member firm, Tanger, we were talking about what is it like for a professional woman in Morocco. And I know we touched on that the other day when we were talking. Are there some challenges? Are there some opportunities? And what's life like being for you as a professional woman in Morocco?
Well, to tell you the truth, I've never, obviously since I've been here 25 years, then that's something positive, huh?
Yeah.
But in fact, I think, I've never felt any type of difference in treatment between male and female. I even have some of my managers at one point were male and older than me, even. And in fact, that's never been an issue. It's really kind of unusual. And several times, I'd say 10 years ago, when we'd have our German customers, they would ask questions and be concerned, about, how is it that you're a woman managing a company in a country that's majority Muslim? I'd say, well, you're the only one that's ever brought up that question, because it's never been brought up to me by anyone here. And so I think it's just like anywhere else. I think being a woman, in fact, even in Europe, there aren't many women who are managing or general managers or managing directors of automotive firms. So I think, it's more of a testament, I think, to Morocco. I know half of my management team is also women. And so we're basically a 50-50. But I think, I've never felt any type of, discrimination or, any type of unusual treatment. Very accepting. Morocco too has a tradition of accepting different religions and different people. Morocco also has a long Jewish tradition. There are churches, there are cathedrals, there are mosques, and so I think Morocco as a country is very unusual and is very unique in that regard, and very open. As Oscar was saying, it's European, it's African, and it's also Arab. So in fact, it kind of combines the sort of the three, and people tend to identify, I think, with all three.
Yeah. Hello, I would like to ask something about this topic. In Morocco, we have still 2 layers in the country. Okay, is one layer in the industry and the education and in the young people in the north, that the integration of the woman is in a very good way, and in our plant we have almost 50-50 in all the levels of the organization. But we need to help this group of people, this layer of people, to do this integration for all levels of the country. This is something that in the coming years we need to support. We need to engage. We need to continue to do, because in the other layer, the most popular layer, are still some traditional education and is not so well integrated. Then this is important for the leaders like Venice, yeah, to promote this and to go ahead with this. Yeah, you were talking a few minutes ago also about Kutz Bernussi, and I would like to highlight this family that are one of the key players in Tanger, because from day one, his father, his brother, and herself give a very good support to TI Automotive. And if you want to go to Tanger, take in consideration these people, this family. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Oscar. Ahmed, looking to the future again, in terms of the sectors, and I know when you did the presentation overview, automotive is a very strong sector and has been one of the founder sectors. Which areas do you see the development taking place into the future? Are there particular sectors that you have in mind that maybe even aren't on your list at the moment? Or what are your thoughts on how you see the evolution happens?
It's a very good question, Jeff, because the COVID-19 crisis has demonstrated that we should be resilient, but we should be also very agile in a way that this pandemic could represent opportunities. So we are looking very carefully to the new orientation of the global value chain. And having said that, today our mission is to identify the new business opportunities that we could address out of Morocco, and that where Morocco could offer some competitive advantages. So definitely there would be some opportunities of sourcing, since nearshoring becomes, let's say, a major issue in Europe. So sourcing out of a good production base, which is Morocco, would be, let's say, a reality very soon. And I think the tier 1 and tier 2 automotive players are getting some good signs out of it. But besides that, I think that there are some new activity sectors that we could develop today in our ecosystem. We will again reiterate the same approach. So we will rely on our resources. We will define a very pragmatic roadmap. We will invest heavily in training people, in transfer of expertise, in capacity, in capacity building. So we are looking today at these changes. I cannot say that we will address these sectors or the other ones. We will, of course, consolidate the existing one. We will maybe improve the performance of our textile industry, definitely, because there is a new orientation in the value chain of the textile business. Medical and paramedical becomes today a matter of a lot of talks, and many, let's say, economists are looking at the new development of the medical sectors and the paramedical sectors. And of course, we want to be one of the major major players. I mean, this is, I would say, what we would be addressing today in terms of industrial activities, from the logistic and the ports developments. We will keep the same energy, implementing new technology, and getting the best use of this of the technology, and involving also our African brothers and sisters into this new development.
Excellent, Ahmed. Also, there's something that's started to emerge during this COVID period has been the issues around sustainability and green financing, and looking at more sustainable ways of doing business. How has Tanger Med positioned itself for the new business order going forward from a sustainability perspective? Looking at maybe alternative energy sources, recycling of products, and of that nature. How's that looking, Ahmed? And then I'll come to Julian and Oscar to ask their particular opinions.
I mean, since you have the strong fundamentals So you are able to face major challenges. So since the inceptions of the ports and also the economic zones, we've had in mind to develop a very sustainable project, addressing the environmental challenges as well, and also looking at the energy sectors as one of, let's say, the drivers to develop develop the industrial sectors. But this is not something that is specific to Tanger Med. This is the country as a whole is also involved in this sustainable strategy. So to a certain extent, Tanger Med is highly involved in, let's say, getting green energy supply, which is the case already in Tanger Automotive City, for instance, one of our if you look at the Renault-Nissan Tanger Med, it's a zero CO2 emission car plant. So that means that environmental issues and also being involved in green initiatives is our daily work. It's not something we will handle by opportunity. It's something that we are deeply involved in. And of course, when it comes to recycling, being involved in all what is, let's say, could be with a lot of interest and benefit for the industrialists themselves. So we will be, of course, in favor of all these initiatives, and we are doing our best doing so. So today, in all our economic zones, you will find a recycling facility that will, let's say, treat all the waste, the industrial waste. And we are, of course, doing the same at the ports. So we are also very well involved, and we get a lot of certificate labeling from, let's say, international organizations that confirm that today the Tanger Med port is among, let's say, the green labeled port at the global level.
Fantastic. Thanks, Ahmed. Julian, I mean, again, following on from what Ahmed has said, how is sustainability accomplished in your entity, and how is it kind of going to be, important for you going into the future, that you're engaged with the Tanger Med, who is looking at sustainability and the green world of the future?
Well, it is becoming increasingly important, and it's a major area of focus. Polydesign is ISO 14001, and in fact, we also participate with many of our customers. Well, it's part of our grading from our customers. So in fact, if we can't show that we have reached a certain level of sustainability, we could in fact not be able to quote, which would mean that we couldn't be their supplier. Currently, we're recycling about 60% of our products. We do injection molding, so we're recycling 100% of our resins here, and we're doing some other things. But that means there's still 40% where we need to find a solution to be able to recycle. It's mostly like fabrics with foam backings and laminations and glue and stuff like that. So in fact, that is an area, if there's anyone out there that's in that field, that we definitely need in Tanger Free Zone and in the area, because we have, I think we have now, let's say, 30,000 people doing cut and sew, like trim covers, seat covers, and textile and stuff like that. So in fact, it is increasing. I know, like, say 10, 15 years ago, I think we were only recycling maybe 25 to 30%. So in fact, we are at double. The other thing that we're in the process of studying now at Polydesign, in fact, my team has done a first payback analysis, asked them to go back and try to recalculate to use solar power, at least for our administration. We can't use it for some of our production processes because they're too big. The consumption is just too large. But in fact, we are looking at doing that for a good portion of at least our administration buildings, et cetera, if not for some of our more intense machines. So the initial calculation was a little high in payback, and so I sent them back to the drawing board. But that is something I think more and more of us are looking at as we try to preserve our resources. So water is obviously a big one. And we do have droughts from time to time, or semi-droughts, and so we need to all be responsible in our water management. We converted our factory. Since our factory is old, we always had kind of old style lights in our factory, and so we converted that all. It was a 2-year project into LEDs, and so we're now 100% LED. So all of those things count, and I think Polyzyne is just one of many. In the automotive sector in general, we're all basically in that same mindset. We're all looking at how we can use renewable energies and have a more sustainable approach.
Fantastic, Julian. Oscar, how's it with TI? What are your thoughts on the sustainability criteria and issues going forward?
Yeah. In the plants, in the factories, as Julian said, we have the same certifications that we are having in our plants in Europe. It's only the same way to recycle and to classify material and to classify dust. Then you feel like another European country and you follow exactly the European rules. As Ahmed said, also we feel in the TAC that green energy is also coming. You feel around with all this wind energy that you see in the mountains around the TAC. I think for Tanger and Morocco, like Spain, it's a great opportunity. It's a great opportunity to go to the green energy. They have the sun, they have the wind, and they have the water. No? These are the key elements for the green energy, and I think they understand very well, and they are developing. Of course, some easy topics. No, 3 years ago, I was going to the supermarket to buy something, and here in Morocco, after a long time, they don't use plastic bags. You don't find plastic bags. And then in Spain, it was still normal to use plastic bags when you buy in the supermarket. Then in the mindset of the people here is also to go to a green economy. Of course, they grow very quickly. And if you go deep in detail, of course, you still need to clean the water. You still need to clean the beaches, and are some topics that are ongoing. But you see all the time that they are going ahead and they are doing improvements. In general, I think they are doing a good job on this matter.
Fantastic, Oscar. Ahmed, one of the questions that has popped up has been around the tourism, and obviously you mentioned, I think, a figure of about 2 million visitors in and out, which are, obviously been impacted by COVID. Have you seen that as a decline, or what are your thoughts in terms of what is likely to happen going into the future in terms of those tourist numbers?
So in any other countries that are considered as a touristic area, we suffered a lot from the COVID-19 outbreak and lockdown. Of course, Morocco has implemented some, let's say, health and security measures to preserve the health and security of the citizens of Morocco. But there is a special care to develop and to recover from the COVID-19 crisis. Morocco remain a very good destination, so we are opening step by step our space for airplanes to come over and to offer again the opportunity to visitors to visit Morocco, which is already the case. The case today. So all tourists are more than welcome to visit the Moroccan countryside, to visit Marrakech, to visit Agadir, to go southern to the Moroccan Sahara, to Dakhla, Laayoune, and also come in a bit to the north and visit in Tanger, which is an amazing city, an exciting city with a lot of development, not only on the industrial side, but it also a very attractive area. And no secret about the Moroccan cuisine that might be also interesting. So, yeah, of course, you are more than welcome. we need to support, let's say, the tourist sectors. It suffered a lot, and we hope that we'll all be safe, and also our visitors will be safe from this COVID-19 crisis.
Absolutely, and I mean the cuisine goes without saying, but also the ease of travel. I mean, I haven't had the opportunity to travel on the train, the high-speed train between Tanger and Casablanca, but I think, Julian, you were mentioning that was a tremendous boon to you,
Yeah.
and Oscar, I know. Yeah, maybe some comments around the connectivity on the train. Julia?
Well, it's phenomenal. In fact, it was long awaited, so we can now go down to Casablanca for a day and back to attend meetings, to go to Rabat, which is important, not just from a personal standpoint, but also from a professional standpoint, because many of the larger associations and groups are based in Casablanca or sometimes in Rabat, but mostly Casablanca, like the business organizations, the chambers of commerce, the American Chamber of Commerce, and so it's really, the automotive association. So in fact, it really opens up more participation, I think, because before, we'd have to lose, let's say, a day and a half or a really, really hard day in order to attend a meeting. So it makes it possible, I think, for North and South, or it's not really South, North and Middle, to participate more, and it enables us, at least in Tanger, to be a more active player in all of these organizations and associations. So it's really phenomenal. It's like you get on a high-speed train in Japan, you can get on the TGV in France, you get on our Borak, which is what we call ours. It's the same thing. It's wonderful.
Ahmed, Julian, Oscar, I've just been notified that we're on our time, and it's just flashed by. And I know that our connection is likely to drop off. But I just wanted to say, Ahmed, fantastic presentation, and thank you very much for taking the time. Have some mint tea and coffee with us. It's been brilliant. Julian, thank you for your time as well. Oscar, for making some excellent points in presentation. To DMG, to all the behind-the-scenes team, to my colleagues in the more global network for support, and to all the delegates who participated. It's really been very interesting, and I trust has been enlightening to you. We look forward to further contacts going into 2021, and possibly, Hamid, maybe even meeting face-to-face and having a coffee and a mint tea together. Julian, Oscar, that would be first prize for us. So please have a blessed day, and we look forward to seeing you hopefully in 2021. Thank you very much for your time. Much appreciated. And we'll be signing off shortly. So those that would like to say goodbye on the chat, thank you very much, and have a good day.
Thanks. Stay safe.
Thank you. Same for you.
Stay safe.
Bye.
Bye.